Housetop Mountain is one of the sedimentary peaks in the Tetons. It's the lower end of the Tetons, not too far from Teton Pass, which marks the traditional southern entry. It's in the Idaho-Wyoming border, and for the most part, this is a ATV trail to get halfway up. But once you get about halfway, then the trail becomes very beautiful, and it has sweeping views of the whole side of the Tetons. It's beautiful on the second half. On the first half, maybe quite not so much. I ran into a rainstorm, which created some challenges. And to be honest, just between you and me, I might have mountain biked halfway up. I'm at the trailhead to Housetop Mountain. The trailhead is called Mud Lake Road. And I'm a little concerned because there's a lot of ominous weather and I can hear thunder occasionally. Maybe I should rethink my plans. The first part is kind of a gnarly ATV trail. Super easy to go when you're walking, for sure. But we haven't broken out of the trees yet to get a little more scenic. Half a mile and 300 feet in, we've emerged out of the trees, and we can see the valley below for the first time. It looks like my weather is clearing, so I'm not sure if this is going to be a problem, but I'm going to press on for now. One mile and 700 feet of elevation, and I've reached the top of the first plateau. And it's going to be a little bit flat here for a while, so it should go pretty quick. But basically, we go through that gate and between those little hills before we start heading up that ridge. This is Mud Lake, what the trail is named after. It's just a little bit retention pond for the livestock, I assume. Three miles in and 1,500 vertical feet, we enter Wyoming. I love this aspen grove, and as you can see, we can definitely walk 2 or 3 abreast, so it's a very conversational peak. Four miles and 1,700 vertical feet, and another contender for Mud Lake. Not much of a lake, just once again a retention pond for the wild stock. Look at these flowers. They are blooming. And just a minute ago, I saw an elk run by. I much prefer elk to moose or bear, of course. Flowers are so pretty this time of year. Look at that. Okay, so we're coming out of the trees and into this magnificent view where you can see mountains on all sides. And look at the flowers. The wildflowers are absolutely fantastic. This is so beautiful. 5 miles in and 1,700 vertical feet. I'm about halfway point, both in elevation and in distance. And well, full disclosure, I did that mostly on a mountain bike. It was about half the miles were done on a mountain bike, the other half I was pushing. I'm a stronger than average cyclist, as well as a little better bike handling skills. I'm not sure most people would be able to do that. It was pretty gnarly in places. But the real advantage is I'm not going to have to expend any effort at all to go down that 5 miles. So I'm just going to coast the whole thing. What a great view, huh? Oh, what a great view of Taylor Peak and the surrounding mountains. This ridgeline is beautiful. I don't know if you can tell, but that sign on a metal post is like 15 feet tall. Why do you suppose that sign is so tall? And the answer, of course, is because in the winter, that's how deep the snow is.
I just can't get over all these flowers. They are so thick, and the bees, their noise is so loud. That is Baldy Knoll, and at this wintertime there's a yurt on top where you can rent it out and do backcountry skiing. Look at these stripes on the sides of the hills. It's kind of weird, and you can definitely see them here as well. I'm pretty sure they're man-made. Is it to stop erosion? Is it to collect runoff? Is it to prevent avalanches? The views here just keep getting better and better the deeper we get into the mountains. Look at that craggly rock face. That's right above Game Creek. And wow, that's pretty. Okay, 7 miles and 3,000 feet in, and we can see Housetop Mountain for the first time. It's right there. It's actually not this green peak, but it's one right behind it. And this right here is Fox Creek that we're going next to. We're gonna have a tremendous view of that as we walk along this ridge. And over here we have Game Creek. Well, it looks like those thunderstorms that I was concerned about have blown away. I'm not really trusting these crowds, so I'm gonna keep a close eye on them. But it looks like I'm clear for a summit push. Let's give it a go. This is my first time off trail so far. I got to make it over to that ridge, but the going's super easy because we're way above the brush line. I think it should be not a problem at all to skirt these trees. Looks like the rodents were busy this winter. Look at the little caves they make, usually under the snow. It's kind of cool here, not so cool when it's in my yard. Woohoo! Woohoo! Out of the blue, we got a trail. Faint trail, but trail nonetheless. This thing makes it much easier. All right, I might be in trouble. I just looked back a minute ago and saw nothing. And then I heard this rumble. And that innocuous cloud is now dropping a fair amount of rain, and I heard thunder. Ooh. That's the Game Creek side. Here is the Fox Creek side. And I'm walking down this really cool spine of rock to make it to our summit. I don't know if this is a game trail or a real trail, but what it's doing is it's side hilling away around this false peak. And frankly, with this thunderstorm nearby, I'm not arguing. Normally I prefer ridges and peaks to side hilling, but right now it's a lot less dangerous from lightning to be on the side of a hill than on top of one. Looking at this storm, you can see blue sky beyond it. There's really not much to it. And I watched it for a while, and I didn't see any lightning come down from the cloud to the ground, which means that the lightning is happening within the cloud. But you can see it moving across the valley. I think I might get wet in a little bit, but I feel way more secure on the side of this hill than I did up on the ridge where I was a minute ago. Hear that? So I saw a flashlight for the first time. So I got next to some trees. I thought I'd have a little sit down and wait for this to play out. All right, so I'm gonna have to wait out this thunderstorm. And I found some trees around me that are taller than me on every side. And so the question is, what's the real danger of lightning in the backcountry? If you're on a mountaintop or a ridge, the answer is, well, it's not zero. It's actually fairly significant. But you have to understand how lightning works. You have a charge from the ground rising up to the cloud, and a charge from the cloud rising down to the ground. And they're looking for a path of least resistance. So the shorter that distance, the more likely it is that you're going to get hit by lightning. So that's why most of the mountaintops are particularly dangerous. Now I want you to visualize a 40-foot diameter beach ball. If that 40-foot diameter beach ball could come down from the sky and touch you, then your chance of being struck by lightning is much greater than if there's taller elements around you like rocks and trees. So it's much more likely the charge coming up from the ground will come up through the trees than through me. And that's what makes me a little bit safer. It's definitely hail now. Hopefully this won't last too long. Hail's getting bigger. Well, the cloud is almost over us, so I'm going to start walking in a couple minutes. I think we're almost finished. It's kind of weird to say that it's safe now that I hear that thunder going on, but I haven't seen a flash of lightning in quite some time. And the rain has let up. It's no longer hailing, and I think the sun will be out in a couple minutes. So I think we're beyond the worst of it. Now, isn't this pretty? I'm coming around the corner of this fall summit and I can see Housetop, I believe, for the first time. And look at this gorgeous meadow around here. This is super, super pretty. And you can hear, I'm still hearing that chorus of thunder. But the blue sky is above me now. A tiny little dry creek right now. I imagine it's gonna rush during a real rainstorm. Dry, sunglasses on, pants are dry. The only thing that's still wet are my feet because they're brushing against the wet grass, and my hat. But that storm is long gone and looks like there's nothing replacing it for a while. So it's definitely the good call to wait it out. Well, I'm on top of another fall summit and I came down from that way. You can see the remains of the cloud that gave me such grief. And this is my path to the top, which should be a beautiful ridge walk. We're a little more than 10,000 feet, and I think we have 10,450 to get to the top. So it's not too far now. This is the last little bit until the summit, maybe 100 vertical feet left. When you look at Google Earth, you're just not sure what this ridge looks like. This could be a knife edge ridge, or you can drive a car on it. Well, this part at least, you can drive a car on it. Just when you think you're at the top, you're like, that's not the top. It's just a little bit further. I mean, it's not far, but I kind of had my hopes on my sandwich. Okay, I really like this ridge walk. This is going to be very cool. Beauty on both ends. You can see all the way down into Jackson Valley right there, and on this side all the way down into Fox Creek. See the color change in the rock, this red stripe? That's kind of pretty, isn't it? This little bit here is perhaps the most technical part of the climb. What would you call this? Is this going to be a mellow class 3, or is this a stout class 2? I don't know, somewhere in between. But that's really the extent of it. This is more about being able to do 20 miles in the backcountry and climb 5,000 vertical feet rather than overcome technical obstacles. All right, here's the summit, and I'm fairly confident this is a cairn. It is not the actual top of the mountain. In other words, someone's heightened it. They're trying to add a couple feet. I need my extra 2 feet. Is it a cairn? Or perhaps, is it a wind shelter? Oh, it's a wind shelter. Okay, so you just got to check out this amazing view. So this is the top of Fox Creek. And right there is Grand Teton and the other Cathedral Peak. And this closer one there, that's Fossil Mountain. And over here we have Prospector Peak. And we pan around over here, the top over there. And we come around here, and then we're gonna see Taylor Peak, and we're gonna see Glory and Oliver and all that. So the views are, it's outstanding. Now keep in mind, it's a little bit darker because of the clouds, and it's a little bit darker because we have some smoke from the Northern California fires. But that was that cloud that gave us all the grief. It's now over the Wind Rivers, and it looks like it's grown quite a bit. Now, if I'm not careful, I'm going to have some issues over here because it looks like these guys are billowing. So this is not time to hang out. All right, I'm on the way down now, and I was sitting there enjoying my lunch when I noticed this cloud. Oh, it got darker. I haven't heard it rumble yet, but I am definitely on an exposed ridge, and this is not a place that I want to be. It's raining again, just a little bit. Not enough to put on a rain jacket or anything. I think the storm is gonna pass me. It's gonna go a little bit south of me, my position. So I think I don't have to hunker down. I'm still concerned because I'm on a ridge. I'm trying to go down as fast as I can, but there's not a lot of cover. But I've yet to hear a rumble. I don't think this guy is as big as the other one, but this is something I'm gonna be definitely monitoring. That was a seriously cool walk. I mean, just a little bit of rain to cool things off. The grass looks like it's edged. Look at the cliff you're walking next to, and the grass. My goodness, it's like I want to sing The Sound of Music. And that's the peak we just scaled. It looks majestic from this side, doesn't it? Absolutely majestic. Woo! This is a no-slip zone. That shoot right off a cliff. If you ever want to know how those cliffs are formed, look at this crack, and it is deep, deep, deep in there. So this whole thing is going to calve off, and it's going to make yet another cliff band. Back on a trail. And things are definitely going much, much faster. That's the side hill that I did before when the rainstorm came. Look how pretty all these flowers are everywhere. Oh my gosh. On a road again. Thank goodness, things are so much easier. I don't have to bushwhack anymore, so my feet can dry off. Pushing through all that wet grass from the thunderstorm made my feet quite wet. I hate to be a little cliche, but it's all downhill from here. It just seems like we're walking through a tunnel of flowers, doesn't it? They've really bloomed since we came up this morning. Well, another field of wildflowers. And notice those big puffy clouds there. The question is, should you be worried about them? So here's the rule. If they are taller than they are wide, in other words, they're mostly created through an upwelling of turbulence from an updraft, then they're going to develop into a thunderstorm, and they're going to have lightning, and therefore they're dangerous in the backcountry. If they're wider than they are tall, probably not quite so much. So these two guys right here look pretty innocent, but I would be very worried about them. This is definitely something I want to get off the mountain for. Oh. Howdy. This is Baldy Knoll. They have a yurt here in the winter for backcountry skiers with a commanding view of the valley. All right. Hopefully there is no lightning strikes on my bike. Haha. Haha. The flies sure like my helmet, don't they? All right, so for the most part, that was totally rideable on the way down. It was really fun in places, technical for sure. You need to have some serious bike handling skills. But at the very bottom, there was just no way. There was just absolutely no way. And worse, I set the bike down, and after I brought it up, my rear brake didn't work anymore, so it was sketchy. Anyways, 20 miles, 5,000 vertical feet. It's a serious undertaking, but the views are spectacular.